What's Daniel? How are you? Greetings. Thanks for joining me. Today, probably won't go a full hour, but then I've said that before and I've ended up going a lot longer. But anyway, good to see you. Today, I'm just going to put a little bit of a note here so I don't run over time. Let me put it on this side so I can see the watch. Anyway, I hope all's well. That lockdown is a bit crazy, but gee, they're having a tough time of it in Victoria, New South Wales, so feel for you. Us, Marco, good to see you. Us, Patty, I just saw your message on the other Facebook group, so thanks for leaving that message. Pretty exciting. I'm just talking to Patty about the Budo Blueprint, the app that's coming up. I'm really close. The applications are closed, of course, and I was aiming for 45, and I got the 45th member today, so that's great. And I have 3 more phone calls. They were people that did get in time, but anyway, I'm going to talk to them over the next couple of days. So now the hard work begins, Patty. I've got, in fact, here, look, check this out. This, see these? They're all kind of in order because each of those, I've separated them into days, but that pile of cards, each one represents a video. And in fact, in some cases, it represents a number of videos because, for example, I'm doing certain footwork videos and I'm breaking them into different levels. So, basically 3 levels: starter level, intermediate level, and advanced level. So some of these represent more than one video, but check that out. So I'm in the middle of doing a whole load of videos, which has been very interesting. So anyway, folks, thanks for coming. Frederick, us, good to see you. You're up early. Brad, us, buddy. Brad, my brother in America. Brandon Minton. Hey, Brandon, how are you, man? Thanks for coming. Paul Kniep, wie geht's, mein Freund, aus Deutschland? Matthias Podlaski. How are you, Matthias? And Tigray. Paul, good to see you, man. Colton, hello, how are you, mate? Good to see you. Thanks for coming. Rochelle, you made it. You weren't that late at all. In fact, I was a little late today myself. Us, Mac, overslept. Look, actually, it was a comment that Mac made earlier today to me, well, before he went to bed last night, about the hikite. I'll do a little bit of that too. If I forget to do it, Mac, just remind me. But I just had a thought because you have to look after your hands. Us, Gaza. As you get older, I have a saying that I believe in. The body is treacherous but honest, and the mind is loyal but deceitful. So the reason the mind is deceitful is it wants to look after you, so it'll lie to you. And the reason the body is honest is because it's treacherous. You can work hard, train your life, and one day you'll just wake up and things just stop working. Your body starts to fall apart. Your joints go and all that stuff. But one of the really key areas is your hands. And I can remember sitting with Masoyama once, and I asked him, because even at 70, his hands were so strong. All kinds of anecdotes I'll share one day. But I asked him what long-term effects he had from all the heavy-duty makiwara that he did, and he said every now and then the nerve pain from his knuckles, where he'd really smashed his knuckles, would, those restless nerve pains that stop you from going to sleep. He said he'd get the nerve pain up his arm, so he'd have to massage it for it to settle down before he could go to sleep. So even Solsai, who I would say probably worked the makiwara as hard as anyone in the world, there's no doubt about it, and the things he used to do to his hands. But even then, he had very live, very healthy, strong hands, because he looked after them. The number one thing you can do to look after your hands is keep working them. As soon as you start to do less and less work, you'll start to feel the ossification. And especially if you have arthritis in your family. I have a lot of arthritis in my family, and my dad was quite fine, but on my mum's side, a lot of bad arthritis. So I'm going to have to really look after that. I have the beginning of, you can see that finger there, not that finger there, that finger there. I'm starting to get a little bit of a buildup of arthritis, which was actually triggered and exacerbated by breaks, heavy-duty knife hand breaks with my little finger would vibrate into that knuckle and it would get all bruised up. So that's why I started to change the way I do knife hand from that to that for a couple of reasons. One, when you hit, your fingers don't bash into each other. And two, when you're striking, for example, if you're tapping down, and this is really valuable for self-defense and particularly small people against big people, when you're tapping down and striking across the eyes, if you do it with the tips of your fingers like that, you can see that the margin of error is that much. But if you do it like that, the margin of error is that much. So it's really important when you're using spear hand or knife hand, you strike across the eye with your fingers like that, and that way when they pull up, you've still got a good chance of hitting them. So it's really important you look after your hands, and it's not that hard to do. Mind you, I have to say, diet plays a big part, and I don't want to lecture anyone about diet. Everybody, one man's meat's another man's poison, but diets heavy in acidic food, particularly red meats and so on, diets heavy in acidic food can cause buildup. You get acidic food leads to a very high level of that sort of joint problem in the long run. As a concreter working in cement and no gloves is not great. Yeah, strong, but years of all moisture being drawn out, especially from, yeah, it's so true. And you're a concreter. In my life, I've probably done a total of maybe 8 or 9 days of concreting when I'm helping at home or doing something. And I know exactly, for me, being involved with that concreting just for one day was so bad that I was moisturizing like nuts. So I feel for you, Gaza, and I know how strong your hands are. But that flexibility and litheness is really, really important. Okay? There's one thing which you can really do besides push-ups on your fingers, and people say it's not healthy for your fingers, but I actually enjoyed it to the right level. You don't want to go ballistic. When you're 20, 19, 20, 21, you'd knock yourself out, you whip the body, and you push yourself to see how far you can really go. But as you get older, you need to, I'm just going to turn that bell off. As you get older, you need to respect the fact that, like I said, the treachery of the body is not nice. Now, the flip side is glove fighting sports like boxing, kickboxing, so on, they tend to wrap their hands and wear gloves all the time. And the number of fighters that I've known whose hands are actually quite fragile because they never really develop that same level of robustness in their fists that a karate fighter does. A karate guy will train his hands for bare fist fighting and they'll get very strong and they'll make strong fists. And their hands tend to, because they're working those joints so much more, but a boxer, a kickboxer, when they wrap their hands and then fold them up, that's as tight as it goes. So it means when you hit, you're always going to have that movement. Whereas a karate fighter, when he hits, the whole idea of squeezing the hands tight is to squeeze the blood out. And by that, I mean, if there's blood, there's fluid. If there's fluid, there's movement. So what you do is you decrease the amount of blood in your hand as much as possible, and that makes your hand more compact. Okay? So there's probably 3 sets of exercises which I think are really key. and they all not only protect the hands in the long run, but they also serve to make the hands strong as well and continue to be strong, particularly your grips. And I don't just mean your one-off grip power. I mean your ability to maintain a grip. And if you grapple and you're grabbing things like this and you're pulling the gi and everything, you're going to have to do that for, if you do a hard grappling session for an hour and your hands are so sore that your forearms are throbbing and everything. So the first exercise, which I do every day, and you can start off simply by doing 10. I'll scale it up and show you what I mean. So what I mean is grips. Okay, there's a number of ways you do the grips. Tight, 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 tight. I'll do 10 of those. So what I'll do is I'll go a number of them here, a number of them here, a number of them in front, and a number of them here. Why? Well, because if I just leave them here, I don't get the same benefit through my spine. But if I go here, lift up here, and then stretch up here, that helps me with the spine as well. So I'm getting a little bit of a benefit on the side there. So I start off strong grips. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'll do that at these 4 levels. I'm not going like that. I'm trying to squeeze my grip like I'm making a fist. Like that. And then in front, 10 of them. I didn't count them. I'm not really counting at the moment because I'm talking. And then up. Okay. Then when you finish those, what I'll do is you can add on to it. So I'll go 1, 2, I'll do 10 hard. And then I'll start to go quicker. Not flicking like that with my hands just going. I'm just making the grip strong and fast. That's a really, really strong exercise. You start off, I guarantee you do 10 hard and then 10 strong flicks, 20, 20, 20, 20. That's 80, and that's really hard. But if you keep going at it, what will happen is you'll get to the point where you can do, I tend to do 50, 50, 50, 50, 50, 50. So 200. I find 200's enough. Of course, you could go on forever. If you're a competitive fighter that you need strong grip, do 200 in the morning, 200 in the lunchtime, 200 at night, 200. Whenever you got an opportunity, you should be working your grips like that. Okay? You can even do these sort of grips. See, this sort of thing. That will help you maintain the dexterity in your fingers. That sort of thing. Like that. They're really good. So every morning I'll do my strong 10 grips and then I'll really pump out like that in 4 angles. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's just arbitrary. If you want to leave them out here, that's fine. But I find by dividing them into 4, changing the angles, it works the shoulders, works the back, and also it helps me to keep a count of how many I've done. I've only got to count to 50 then instead of 200. And as you know, you can always lose your way when you count. And if you're counting honestly, you're always going to go back to the lower one. You think you've done 50, you're not sure. Maybe you did 40, well, then go back to 40. So those grip exercises are really, really valuable. 100%, Paul. When I've trained fighters over the years, I've always encouraged them not to wear wraps, and it's really, if you get used to wearing wraps, some guys wear wraps now. I use little cotton gloves, but I don't do it to protect my hands. I do it to keep the sweat off the leather gloves so that they don't stink after a while. But by all means, the number of professional glove fighters that I've worked with who, once I've got them to take the glove off work the grips, work the makiwara, that sort of thing is really very interesting. And another couple of exercises we do in training already, which was taught to us by Solsai, is the gasho. So you come up, work the wrist, come back, work the wrist, come over, work the wrist. And you want to keep working that wrist. Up, in, down. Up, in, down. And then what I tend to do from there is I turn my hands back to back like that, and I try to push my hands hard into each other and just gently drop the elbows. You need to be careful of this, particularly if you're maybe over 40, because you can go much harder than you really should without realizing it, and then you'll strain your wrist. And wrists are really hard to heal. If you do heal it, one of the best things you can do is get external support like an exoskeleton to keep the wrist strong. But you're coming up, gasho, ich, ni, san, ich, ni, san. Okay, then you can go back to back, wrists like this, and then back to back like that. Then the other thing which we do is you put your fingertips together and you get them close to your body where it's stronger and you push hard in. And then I'll do the same thing, but as I do it, I'll start to push my hands out until they're straight. And you keep working that. And that helps to keep the fingers strong as well. The next thing then is, of course, your wrist health. You need to have dexterous, healthy wrists. And if you doubt that, why do you have a swollen wrist sometime and try to do even fundamental day-to-day things? I'm sure Gaza could tell you that as a concreter, if you have a wrist that is damaged, it's going to affect your work output considerably, I think. So, of course, you can do these wrist locks, these wrist flexibility exercises anywhere. I'll do them sitting in a car, sitting at a traffic light, or, lately where we live, there's a lot of road work, so there's the paddle pop, the stop slow sign, guys, and sometimes you can be there for a few minutes. You just turn the car off and you start doing these. I've done them before, but I'd like to go over them again because someone recently asked me, Vic Timev, if you watch this, Vic's in Wollongong, and he asked me to go over these wrist flexibility exercises, and they train you to work out exactly the angle. So I'm going to move back so you can see it probably a little easier. But the first one that I do, and these were shown to me, I might add, by a friend of mine, Paul Cale. If you're there, Cale, Paul, I said Cale, I looked at Caleb, and then I said Cale. If you're there, Paul, Paul showed me this not too long ago, actually, and of course, anyone who trained with me at the dojo will know there are certain ones that we always did, because back in 79, I had an opportunity to train with an Aikido 10th Dan master named Tohei Koichi, and he showed me this and this. So he would do this and do this. But Paul also showed me a series of 5. What's Caleb? How are you, Caleb? Thanks for coming, man. If you speak to Kenny at Bogart, say hello. He's my good friend, and I miss him dearly. He's one of the gems in the crown of Kyokushin. That's the only way I can describe him. Okay, so get your fingers, bend right back. Now, the objective is to feel not just the muscle, but the connective tissue and the fascia getting a nice stretch here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Switch hands. 1, 2, 3, 4. Switch hands. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rotate. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you see that one there, I'm grabbing this strong here. Like that. So this one I went that way. This one, I'm reversing it. Vic sent me a message. He said, "Oh, Xian, could you go over those wrist locks that you showed us?" I said, "Yeah, it's easy. You just go back and forward, right and left. No, back, what did I say? Forward and back, up and down, and underneath." I was being a bit of a smart aleck. So there, and then you turn over so your thumb is facing you, like that. And then you just drop the elbow and keep the wrist flat. Keep this wrist flat, like that. Other side, 1, 2, 3, 4. Rotate. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now watch that hand. I had it on the back there, and I was holding this mound here on the thumb, on the side of the hand. Now I'm going to rotate the thumb forward and grab the mound at the base of the thumb. So I go from here to here. Okay, and then I go straight down. 1. Notice my thumb. I don't let the thumb come around. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rotate. 1, 2. I'm doing it slowly so you can see. 4, and then rotate, grab the thumb. Straight down. 1, 2. Look at the hand. He's in that line, and I'm doing this. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is called ikkyo, kotegaishi. You push the thumb here. You push the little finger here with your thumb. You pull the thumb there, and you get that rotational motion. Very good for controlling. Okay. The fourth one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rotate. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rotate. Take the thumb. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, from there, rotate up, 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 up. Pull the fingers towards me. 1, 2, 3, 4. Get these right. They're really, really valuable when you're working with wrist locks. And now, after, let me go the other side for 1, 2, 3, 4. Rotate. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rotate. 1, 2, 3, 4. Once again, rotate, and this time I pull the forefinger towards me this way. See the hand? From the side, you can see it like that, twisting up, like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. The fifth one. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rotate. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I go from vertical to horizontal, and I push it under my arm. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can see I'm going this way, horizontal, under my arm. Not this way, because that's easy on the body. Rotate it underneath there, like that. Other side. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rotate through. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the fifth one, go flat underneath. 1, 2, 3, 4. There are your 5 fundamental wrist locks, and all wrist locks that you can do are variations on those 5. So those exercises are so valuable, particularly these. Another thing that I don't do it all the time, just probably because I'm a little lazy, but I have a little rubber ball in the car. It's like a miniature football, and it's that foam rubber, and sometimes I'll squeeze that as well. So there's some really good exercises that will help you maintain the youthfulness in your hands. Like some things you only know with age, of course. You when you're 20, you're 10 foot tall and bulletproof. You don't care about hurting your hands. You walk around. I used to walk around hitting brick walls and bricks and coconuts and everything. But one day you wake up and you go, nah, I need to look after my hands. And particularly if you like Gaz, where you use your hands in your profession, you're nuts. And I tell the story, a friend of mine was a violinist. In fact, he was a highly successful violinist, at one stage regarded as the greatest violinist in the world. That's according to Yehudi Menuhin, who was the greatest violinist in the world. But anyway, he wanted to do karate. He'd read my book. We were talking one day, and I recommended that he go and train at one of Steve Arneal's dojos. And he went and trained, and the next time I saw him, he was on a concert tour in New Zealand. I just happened to be passing through. And he said he went and trained once. And as a white belt, of course, he's not going to be doing crazy things. Just from making the fist in training, making that tight fist. And he said he couldn't play the violin for 4 days. So the incredible dexterity and flexibility that he needed as a violinist is probably greater than anyone else. But it's still a perfect example of what can happen if you use your hands in the wrong way. Okay? So they're good. Now, just to finish off, I just wanted to go over Mac Robertson. We were talking this morning, my time, last night, his time, about the hikite. Okay, so hikite, retracting hand. This is your retracting hand. In some styles, the retracting hand comes to the hip. And if you analyze things strongly enough, you'll start to understand reasoning why it's like that. But everything Solsai did, he did for a reason. Even when Solsai says that you do koken up with your thumb on the ring finger, you do koken across with your thumb on the middle finger, well, you know, for him to have said that takes tremendous direct experience. So it's the same with the hikite. Kyokushin will withdraw the hikite essentially to the height of the punch. So there's your hikite. So you pull it back. Now, if you're down here, it's a different sense of chamber. You don't get the same explosiveness. And especially when you go quickly with your punches, there's very little, if any, tendon reflex in the elbow. And you'll see guys who fight from down low here, what they'll do is, if you watch it in slow motion, they'll retract the hand and they'll bring it up. So they'll bring it up anyway. Okay, and I actually like that movement. I'm not suggesting you fight with your hand down here, of course, but that movement where you're retracting the hand and letting it go, you get the tendon reflex by hyperflexing the elbow. There, like that. So it's the same with the hikite. When the hand is down here, you don't get that. There. So that's why Solsai pulls it back here. And he was also adamant that if you're looking at me from the front, you can't see my back elbow. Not like this. He also said that you don't withdraw the hand from the hand and lead out from the elbow. So if I do that, I withdraw the hand from the hand, lead out from the elbow. This is very common. Okay, so as an instructor, one of the best things you can do is every now and then when you're doing chudan ski, is you get the students to hit behind with an elbow. Now, that's where it starts to become quite revealing. If you say to someone, hit behind with an elbow, they never stop the hand here. Okay? They'll always bring the hand back there. Even if they're coming behind and hitting like that, the hand comes high. Retracting the hand is from the elbow. So also used to say, you lead the hand out, you lead out from the hand, you retract from the elbow. Like that. Okay? People who spend a lot of time with the hand down here, they have that, you see that, particularly Shtoryu has beautiful, that double hip chamber. This sort of thing. There. And they can really, if you work that 10,000 times, it's very explosive. The catch of it is it's quite telegraphic too. So if there was a high-ranked karate master who used that double hip motion, who can develop a lot of power, fighting even an average high-level boxer, and the boxer's here like this, well, I would put my money on the boxer that he can take his hand from here, there and back, quicker than the karate guy can chamber and strike. Even though the karate punch might be more powerful, it takes so much longer. It's very visible. Okay, so hikite, why do we have it here? Down here, there is no chamber. There is no tendon reflex. Pull it back here. You get a build-up. You get that build-up of power off the elbow and through the spine as well, what I call the arcs of tension. From the shoulder to the knee. That comes in the same way as when you punch by thinking about the tendon reflex in the elbow, you also get a tendon reflex off the arc of tension across the body. Yeah, they really are good. I've got a little squeeze ball. Like I say, I just don't, well, to be quite honest, one of the main reasons I don't use it so much is every time I hit the brakes, it goes flying and I can't pick it up off the floor. And so anyway, look, I hope you got something out of that, but really, over time, you really have to look after your fingers. Okay, you have to look after them. Your hands are the instrument of dexterity in the body, not just for karate. Karate also used to be really adamant. He used to say, it's not karashi. It's not empty feet. It's karate, empty hands. So 80% of what you need to do in karate is about the hands. You think about any grappling art, for example. The grips are in the hands. You see guys, you've got sore wrists, dislocated fingers, their ability to do anything just completely nosedives. Whereas you can have a bad, like I snapped my Achilles tendon in 2000 or 2001, I can't remember, at the World Over 40s Championship in Osaka. And they said it'll be 12 months before you can do anything. And in a way, they were right. It did take 12 months for me to come back and have full mobility. But I had it reattached. It was a total rupture. And I wrapped it. And then I put a soccer guard, a hard shell soccer shin guard on backwards over my Achilles. And I was back training full on, off my feet, grappling, wrestling, full on within 2 weeks. So I could still do a lot of stuff because I had the dexterity in my hands. But whenever I've had an injured hand or wrist, it neutralizes everything. So you really need to look after your wrists. Now, Hikite and Shorin use high, like, oh, that's interesting. Yeah, our reason might be a bit different. We find it helps to. Yes, that's the other thing. Also, I said, by the way, Colton, was that it allows you to leverage more of your body by using the waki. Everything Solso did was from the core through the waki, through the lat there. And if the hand is low, you don't get the same connection through the waki, the armpit. By pulling it here, the connection between the core, the gut, the hara, into the lat, into the elbow is very different. But thanks for letting me know that, Colton. That's very interesting. But very, very interesting. Well, you don't start a power tool by yanking the cord to the hip. You always find, yes, indeed. That's a good point, Gaz. Never thought of that. Was some great ideas. Thank you. Whenever you injure your hand or feet, you realize how much you use them. Yes. So I don't mean just for karate. Dexterity, the instrument of dexterity in the human condition is about the hands. Okay, that is the instrument of motion in the human condition is the feet. The instrument of dexterity and manual activity is in the hands. Okay, so you have to look after them. No worries, Chris. Thank you. I had faith. I'm sure you weren't going anywhere. Good on you. Work on that. The grips, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like that. You can even do 10 to start with, then strengthen up, squeeze, 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 squeeze. Another good thing too is when you do chin-ups, use a larger than normal bar, or another thing we used to have in the dojo is you hang a karate belt over the chin-up bar and use the karate belt, or even a grappling gi, so that you get used to the feel of pulling on the collar of the gi with your grips. There you go. Thanks, guys. I told you to be a short one today. I hope you got something out of it. I'm smack in the middle of preparing the app. Very exciting. It's 9 weeks. And like I said, look at these videos. And it's populating even as I keep going. But I'm only releasing 1 week at a time. So right now I'm getting the first week ready, and the goal is to release it within the next week at the most. So thank you for coming along. Us Paul, us Paul and Paul, Daniel, thanks, man. Good to see you always. I hope everything's safe and well down there in the lockdown. Thanks everybody for coming along. Us Mac, thank you. Good to see you. You can go back to bed now. It must be, what's the time there? 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. in London, I guess, 6:30 in the morning. Us Frederick, us Brad, you're quiet. Thanks for coming along. Brad's also in the Budo Blueprint. Us, speak soon, Paddy. Thanks, everybody. Us.